On the Perdido Key Gulf access, when we put in the numbers that we did, of course, I don't think anybody here had the illusion that we were going to be able to buy access land for that amount of money. That amount of money was used as a placeholder. And gentlemen, I want to take the opportunity now to tell you guys that I've got Tim working double overtime trying to figure out a way to procure beachfront land to increase free beach access. I don't really worry about the tourists all that much. I don't worry about people like me who live on waterfront property on Perdido Key, but I worry a lot about the rest of these County citizens. I worry that what's happening with the development of land, it makes it harder and harder for people to get access to the water. There was a lot of hysteria over the last couple of months about privatizing our beaches, and that hysteria is fueled by a fear that citizens have of not having access. Now, granted, Grover, in that case, every statement was so grotesquely inaccurate as to be unaddressable, but it is a very real fear that citizens have, that as development continues, they will have less and less access to the water. I share that fear. And it is important for Perdido Key to grow the way that we want it to grow, that it always be accessible to the homeowner there, the day visitor, and those who live in the county. So I am going to be asking you very soon, probably at our next meeting, I'm going to be bringing something to add a couple of $1 million to that project, within the constraints. No changes at all to the scope of it. But the placeholder number that we put in, it served its purpose. In order to buy land on Perdido Key, you are literally spending $10,000 a foot. We've missed out on the last 4 deals that I've tried to get that Tim has worked on. In every case, it's because the property values are just going up so fast. My fear is that if we don't solve this for the people of this access issue for the people of Escambia County, if we don't solve it during this build-up, during this increase in the market, we will probably never have an opportunity to do so. We're looking at the last build-out of Perdido Key during this market run. Now, prior to me becoming a commissioner, we did buy a piece of property there, 75% for the purpose of beach mouse habitat, 25% for the purpose of public access. And I struggle. I have to report to you guys that that is when somebody tries to tell you you can do both on the same piece of property, it just doesn't really work out that way. If we were to build out, and the reason you haven't seen me bring a proposal to build out that 25% of that parcel is because at best what I would be able to do is get in enough parking for locals for people who already live on the island to use. And while I certainly care about them, that's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is people who live elsewhere, who live in your districts, quite frankly, having access to our beach, which, by the way, does not require a long bridge drive. But we are, at a much smaller scale, we are suffering the same kind of thing on Perdido Key, which is a lack of day visitor parking. The tourism industry will take care of itself. Those of us who live on the island will take care of ourselves, but the day visitor needs our help. And I need to buy beachfront property pretty much now if we're ever going to buy beach access, a sizable enough beach access to warrant a lifeguard, to warrant to be the kind of place that people, when you come to the beach from, say, Beulah, that you know where to go. Because if we don't do this, what's going to happen, and Jeff just using Beulah as an example, somebody from Beulah is going to come down, they're going to park on a parcel of land that looks vacant, and when they get back from the beach, their car's not going to be there.
All right, they're going to be towed.
That is unacceptable to me. And if you don't understand how Perdido works and how our private property rights work out there, you are going to find yourself in some trouble. The way that we prevent that, the responsibility to prevent that, is squarely on my shoulders as the commissioner from that district to ensure that the county provides beach access for the rest of the county on that island.
Doug, about that property that we have out there, have we explored the option of buying land across the street for the parking with some sort of a crossing? I mean, I get what you're saying about 25% not being enough for the parking, but I think it's critical that we take, like you said, every square inch that's public and make it public as soon as possible.
Yeah, and yes, we did. Unfortunately, the property across the street, also critical beach mouse habitat.
Well, I mean, is there a workaround? I mean, you just can't do anything at all with it.
with that particular parcel. Tim Day, I know, worked with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on the
Is there
purchase
anything
of
we
that.
can do? Because I hear what Doug's saying, and we do have the small public beach access, and thank God for the state park out there. Or the national park. But you're right. So what could we do with that property?
Yeah, Tim Day, Natural Resources Management. There is, of course, a potential to utilize it as public access. In kind of looking at the Perdido Key Master Plan and our projected build-out on the Key, if we're able to find and acquire lands on the eastern side where we'll have the commercial support for those accesses, I think that would be preferable. It doesn't mean that we couldn't utilize that other piece.
How big is that 25% of that parcel? How many feet? Is that 100 feet on the Gulf?
Well, there used to be a condo on the site that constitutes about 0.8 of an acre.
Okay.
So we could have a development footprint for parking and some sort of public facility approximately that size.
And how much Gulf front?
It's 300 feet of Gulf front.
So could we use the entire 300 feet of that Gulf front and just a small, just for the beach, for swimming and people lounging on the beach portion of it, and just develop the 25%?
Right. The 25% would hold potentially parking and whatever amenity we would have with a dune walk over to the beach itself.
Yeah, I think we should be doing that yesterday, Doug. I think we need to get on that right away.
No, that would be a foolish idea.
Why?
Because because as Tim said, if you look at the Perdido Key Master Plan, one of the things about
the master plan. I thought we were talking about the beach mouse.
Well, the Perdido Key Master Plan and the HCP are the driving documents that drive every decision on the island. Those two are. If you have to look at your decisions in terms of those two documents.
But if it's sitting there and we own it, aren't we essentially land banking? What's happening with that property right now?
The reason that it won't is because if you spend some money to put in some parking there, you're going to get maybe another dozen or so parking spots. 0.8 of an acre. How much is it exactly?
It's
0.8. So yes, you've got 300 linear feet, but you've got a very small parking area that you can use.
That's better. Hey, that's better than nothing on a summer day where there's no parking and no beach.
But keeping in mind, again, what we want you to be able to do is come out to the Key, park one time, be able to enjoy the Key. Okay? You come out here, and this parking spot is well outside of any kind of a commercial core. You've got this one spot. You go there, you park. Now you want to go get pizza, you're going to have to go park again.
And I don't disagree with that, but there's got to be some kind of middle ground here because the citizens have put how much into that property? Now it's just sitting there.
No, well, yes, but that's the nature of a bad decision. That parcel of land was a horrible parcel of land to buy for this purpose. It's a great parcel to buy for the purpose of Habitat Conservation Plan.
If I ride my bike out there, can I access that? Is that open to the public right now?
No, it's not. It's chained off.
Now, why? I don't understand the logic behind that. Why that should be open for? If I walk there,
because we haven't put any parking in, or we haven't put any facilities in for it.
How quickly could you put a portable? I don't know. It's your district, but I'm saying if it's public money, you talked about beach access. Let's maximize it.
Well, as you said, it is my district, and yes, I am going to implement the Perdido Key Master Plan and the Habitat Conservation Plan, and that's what I'm bringing to you today is telling you that parcel of land, which was purchased 75% for and what I've been trying to do was get the other 25% turned into recover this, how much, $800,000 that we used for public access?
Yeah, $767.
$760,000 that was used of LOST money to purchase that land. The rest of it came from beach mouse money. Okay, if I could, what I've been trying to accomplish is get the $760K returned to us by getting the property turned over to, say, Defenders of Wildlife or something like that. We're still working on that.
I don't understand.
You snicker, but that's how things work on the island.
No, I
things
get
are
that,
different out there.
But let me, and I'm sorry we got stuck on the weeds on this, but you brought it up. So, but to me, the critical part of that property is that 300 feet on the beach, Doug. So you have 25% that you have to set aside for beach access. So what if it's only 12 spots? Then you've got 300 feet of the beach, and you've got the whole rest of that other area with the dunes for the mice, right? I don't understand.
Have you read the Perdido Key Master Plan?
No,
the
Habitat
Conservation Plan?
No, I haven't.
I think it would be much easier. It'd be much better to have that conversation after you've read those documents. They are those are the formative strategic documents for the island. And everything, and it makes much more sense to have that discussion with that information in hand. That parcel of land is while it's suitable for a handful of parking spots, I'm trying to solve a problem, not just look like I did something.
No, I get it, but I hate to see 300 feet just sitting there and no one. no one can use it apparently if it's fenced up.
And we should not have been sold the bill of goods of 75% for habitat conservation and 25% for public access.
Well,
If it
I
goes-
will look into that further because
Again,
I
if it
think we
goes
need
to-
to put that into action right away for the public.
If it goes to public access, it's going to be public access for people who live on the north side of Perdido Key Drive. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Okay, you're not going to be. We can sit here and whistle. We can claim that we're taking care of parking for people in your district and Stevens and Lumens, but we're not. Okay, the only thing that will make Perdido Key accessible to the day visitor in a way that does not promote conflict is to have an appropriately sized county access where people can go and receive the benefits of a day at the beach.
Sure. Well, it looks like we'll
And that is the
discuss
purpose for the Perdido Key Gulf Access Restore project. So, like I said, I will be asking for additional funds, restore funds for that purpose. And I'll probably be bringing that, I guess, Tim, what are we thinking next meeting, next 2 meetings away? We talked about it a little bit. I know we talk about everything a little bit.
Yeah, and part of this was discussion with the board to bring that project forward.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunter. Commissioner Barry?
Thank you. Tim, what was the name of the condo that was on that property? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was called the Sundown. On the key, there is a Sundown North that still has a boardwalk and access.
Okay, so this was one of the condos that was bought since Lumen and I came on the board.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. I don't remember any discussion about 25% of that property not being able to be used. I don't remember anything about because I would not have supported I would not have supported the purchase of the property if I was told that $750,000 of LOST money is going to go into public access that is going to in effect have no public purpose. I don't remember that being a discussion. I do remember talking about it. There were multiple people that spoke at the podium, and that was never divulged to the rest of the board. I don't know what I don't know what other commissioners knew privately, but it was certainly not said publicly.
That's correct. When the grant was written, we had anticipated utilizing that portion as public access, and thus the impetus for the LOST.
Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about this some more because, it sounds like an issue that needs to be discussed. Any other discussion on this? Because we got to wrap it up.
Well, there are a couple of things on this, and again, I certainly understand the need to eventually find some implementation for that Gulf access. However, I still think at the end of however we end up working with the existing piece and any of the other things, I don't disagree. We need to figure out what we can use that money and get the return. But the bigger problem I have is I don't think we should be doing any more necessarily adding any projects until we can start looking at what we can implement out of the projects we've initially put forward, the 10 that we've put forward. And again, I have no problem necessarily saying, okay, Perdido Key Gulf access is one. At some point, we're going to put some money into that and trying to figure Gulf access. But I don't think we should add more projects onto this until we have the chance to implement some of the projects that are on here.
I absolutely agree, and that's why I won't be asking to add a project to it. I'll be asking to add money to an existing project. And again, there's no way that I can submit a property identification for a $1 million piece of property when I've got $1.50 sitting in the account. So no, I absolutely agree with you. While there are a lot of other projects that I'm chomping at the bit to see on this list, I don't think the time is here for that. But in order to execute this one, we need to add the real numbers in now that would be required for acquisition.
Grover?
Mr. Chairman, one real quick thing, especially when it comes to Triumph, and more Triumph than our Restore.